it'll tell you when we go live.
Okay.
And there it is. Hey, everybody, this is Jason. Hello, bands and fans of bands and fans that are bands and bands that are fans. This is probably my biggest interview and probably the one I've had the most fun with. I'm kind of a little bit nervous, but I'm here with Heidi Harris right now, and we're going to be talking to her about life and music and happiness and all that fun stuff right after this theme song. And we're back. And for people that are new, this is the audio content for a podcast, but luckily you get to hear the live stream and find out everything before it's actually a podcast, which is really exciting. Hi, Heidi.
Hi. How are you? It's Wait, do you hear what I'm hearing?
What are you hearing?
I'm here. I'm taking my headphones off. I'm hearing the audio back at me.
Oh, yeah, you are. Do me a favor and turn your volume down.
Cool. Okay, it's down.
There you go. That's all we needed. I think what it is you have somewhere you have the video up in one of your tabs.
It's still going for me. I'm so sorry. Hi, everyone.
Well, that's all right.
And that was like a cascade of talking. All right.
Yes. We can always edit it out. So just check your tabs and see which one has the video up.
Oh, you know what? I probably have a million windows open too.
It could be one of those.
There. Oh, hi. Okay. Now it's not so confusing. Hi, everyone.
Okay, there you go. I had that with my first interview with Boy Meets World. And I was never so embarrassed. So believe me, it wasn't as loud on my end as it was on yours.
Okay, cool. Well, it was I think that's a lesson. Don't ever leave too many tabs open, everyone.
That's true. Not when you're doing an interview.
No.
Half a country away.
That's right.
So how's everything in Jersey City?
Everything's awesome. I actually just moved here. I think I mentioned that to you briefly.
Briefly.
So yeah, I like about a month ago, maybe at the most. And there's a bar around the corner that I might be doing sound for and I'm playing a show at. And I just love it here. Everyone's so nice and it's fun and I like it a lot.
Nice. Do you find getting shows is really easy for you?
It depends on the venue. If I'm trying to get my foot in the door of a venue that I guess some people would call a bigger deal venue, it's a lot of waiting,
Okay.
But with the gigs that I've actually learned to like more are the more low-key ones anyways, and those are so easy. It's even if you just walk into a place and you smile at someone and tell them you're a musician, they'll say, all right, come and play.
Well, that's because you're Heidi Harris.
Maybe I do have fancy business cards, so maybe that, and so.
That's nice. But I have a feeling that if Jason Rozecki walked into the same place and smiled, they'd be like, no, we're waiting for Heidi.
Well, if they said that, I would tell them, you know what? That's not very nice. I don't approve.
You're awesome. You just seem really sweet. Thank you. So what were you up to today? I heard you went to a music store. You were looking for a special product.
That was supposed to be my happy time today, which this has now become my happy time. I wanted to find a ukulele that plugged in because actually I recently went to a show, about like 4 months ago, and there's this great artist named Rachel Trachtenberg. Have you heard of her?
No, but I'm going to look her up after this.
You definitely should. It's weird because I've been thinking about the fact, she uses a ukulele that plugs in, and she used to be in a band called the Trachtenberg Family Slideshow, where she was the daughter of a mother and father duo, and she played the drums at the age of, I think, like 10 at the oldest, which is when they started, and they got really popular, and that was actually one of my first shows, and just she sort of has popped up randomly. I've never actually met her in person. I sort of met her father, but anyways, she plays a ukulele and it plugs in, and she plays it with sort of rock music, and I love it. I love seeing someone with a little ukulele and there's this big sound coming out. It's just awesome. And I've been playing the ukulele for so long, but I always have to put a mic to it. And
sure.
So anyways, I've been thinking of trying to get it plugged in. So I went to this music store, and you'd think it's a fairly simple question, but the guy looked at me like I had 3 heads, and I had to be very patient with him. And I didn't want to be a stereotypical, like, I know more than you, because that's usually the way it goes on either end when people go into music stores. Either the customer is like that or the salesperson is like that.
Of course.
So, or both, and neither of them know what they're talking about. But anyways, it was like an hour-long conversation about a ukulele that plugs in. Finally I was like, all right, I'm gonna look on Amazon. Thank you.
Yeah, that's your best bet.
Yeah.
I think that's why online sales do so good, is because most customer service people don't know what they're talking about.
It's true. Yeah. Or they secretly just want to be playing music and not selling you anything.
That's true.
I think. I don't know, but.
So why the ukulele? You got plans for it?
I do. I play a lot of instruments, and I go through stages of which one I like more. And I always like the piano the most, but you can't put a piano in your pocket. You really can't put any instrument in your pocket. But the ukulele, since I've been traveling around the last few months,
Sure.
I've been between apartments, and I've only been able to play my ukulele. So I got really sort of close to it, if you will. And I just like it. I like that it's so little, but you can, and I like trying to play it differently, not like the normal.
Yeah. You don't play anything the normal way, right?
I guess not. It's not by accident. I mean, it's not, it is by accident. It's not on purpose, but I guess I don't play anything traditionally. Sometimes I try to, and it still doesn't come out traditionally. So
that's perfect. That's what makes you an artist, is that you can't copy somebody else's stuff.
I used to, though. I will say I've been recording albums for a long time, because I just became obsessed with the idea a long time ago. And I listened to some of my very first albums that I put out, and they definitely sound like ripoffs now when I hear them. Of like, I had a core group of musicians that I listened to, and it's like, whoa, I was literally copying the way they sing. And okay, but anyways, yeah. So I have ripped people off before.
Well, you just allowed them to influence you. That's all.
That's true. Yeah, I'm being too hard on myself.
Yeah, I watched some of the old videos. You had some links on your page, so I clicked on them to do some research, and I don't know, I was amazed. It was just fun to watch because it was just so behind the scenes, It looked like you guys were out in a broken down barn, and you guys were just playing with instruments and sounds, and people were just sitting around having a great time, and I wish I could remember what that was.
Was it a recent post on one of my social media things, or?
No, actually, it was one of the links you have on your personal page that's public.
Oh, okay. I have so many pages. I'm not sure which one you saw, but that's my favorite thing to put. I like giving people things that aren't necessarily polished, that are more like what actually happened. So I'm glad that you liked that.
I do, because I think everybody, they fall in love with an artist because they hear a more polished song, but then they want to hear everything,
Right. Yep.
That's why catalogs are so big, is because we want to know everything once we fall in love with the artist.
Yeah, but it is, and you're right. It is important I used to be sort of anti-polish, if you will. I didn't want anything to sound too polished, but now I know that there is a sort of value in taking one or two pieces and really putting it into a certain box, I guess, a very polished box. But yeah, my favorite thing to do is, if you notice when I gave you the 9 Feathers download, my band, there are so many moments where you can hear us talking in the studio, and I kept pushing to keep all that in there because it's great.
That's the stuff that we like.
Yeah. Well, it's real.
That's what I found out about these interviews, is that people want to know who you are. And other people that work with you, that know you on SoundCloud and Facebook, or have seen you in a show, they're like, I like that music. Who is she?
Yeah, but I think that's the scary thing for a lot of artists, because there's that whole mystique. If you don't say anything, you don't let them know you're a real person. Yeah. then they'll believe you are some like mystical being who only exists, in perfect little bubbles.
That's true. That's true.
But yeah.
Okay. So where did you get started then musically?
honestly, where I got started, I would say that my first musical experience was, I think I've always been a musician and also sort of an engineer.
Right.
And it's sort of been going back and forth the two. And when I was probably 8 or so, I had this tape player that could that you could record sound and then speed it up. So I remember sitting on my front lawn and listening to an oldies station, and that was the music I really liked, was oldies music. But it's the first stuff I got into. That's the only thing I can say. I can't give you names of bands. I can just tell you the oldies station.
Sure.
But I would tape it. I would record it on just a little cassette tape. And then my favorite thing to do was then speed it up and listen to it really fast. And I think that's where it all sort of started for me, because that's where, it was very traditional, and that's like the sort of folk side of me. And then I had to just record it and speed it up and like be a weirdo with it. And I think that when I think about my first sort of musical, I think of that, even though I wasn't playing anything necessarily, but yeah.
You were more of an engineer.
I was, and I was thinking about music, and then I wanted to play it myself, and then I sped myself up and slowed myself down, and, all that stuff.
So the Chipmunks must have really turned you on.
Oh, I loved the Chipmunks.
That's awesome. I could just see that. And then, well, when did you get into instruments then?
Well, I got into the piano. I forget if I requested it or what, but I have two older sisters, and growing up, they were very much into sports. And so my parents and I was good at sports, but they tried to get me to do sports, and I kept sort of saying, no. So they realized, okay, well, let's see if she likes the arts. And I clearly latched onto it. So my grandmother, when she saw that I was into that, she got me a piano, which is an amazing present for a little kid. And I was obsessed with it. So I think at the age of I was like 9 or 10 when I got that piano. And then I got piano lessons, which I immediately rebelled against. But I just wanted to play. I just wanted to have it make sounds on my own accord. But I'm glad I took the piano lessons, because those are the only lessons that I really remember and use, are those like 3 years of simple, chords.
Sure.
But yeah, so that's that. I would say the piano and the Chipmunks at age 8 through 10. That pretty much sums up my beginning.
And that pretty much explains Heidi's music. So if you want to listen.
Well, that's a good transition. I like that.
That's a great transition. So why don't we just jump into a song called The Weight by Nine Feathers, right? Heidi and the Nine Feathers.
All right, cool.
Cool. Why don't you tell me a little bit about that one?
The Weight. Well, I think actually that is probably the song that I had the most fun performing live, and just working out with everyone. And I originally was going to have that song be the first one on the album. So I think in terms of an album song, to me, it sounds the most polished in a way, because I just had this idea that it was going to start off the album, and then of course it didn't. But I guess I started writing that actually. If you listen on my SoundCloud page, there's a track called the Spaceman film score.
Yes, there is.
Yes, and originally the Weight piano line came from the Spaceman soundtrack. And that was I sat down, I needed to do a soundtrack or a film score, which I had never done before. And I was given all this footage of this little boy who was basically hallucinating a spaceman. And this is by Movet Pictures, a great company.
Okay.
Yeah. And so I sat down and I was watching these images, and I'm just not thinking about anything for myself because I had to write it for this movie. But the piano line that came out of it, which was sort of improv, and I sort of recorded it almost right away, I just fell in love with it. I was, I've never enjoyed a piano line more. And I couldn't bear the thought of just leaving it be at that,
Sure.
And I think thankfully I'm friends with the lady who made the movie, so she let it slide. But I think she was sort of like, when she realized I was using it for another song. But I made it into its own thing, and it's, if you listen to the soundtrack, it's totally different, but that's where it started. That's where the piano line came from. And that's why I sing the weight of the sound, and it's just sort of me trying to express how important sound is to me, and how emotional it can be, and how it can, it's the one constant in my life. And I've, especially through music, I've gone through a lot of ups and downs with different relationships, as any musician can agree. Can be hard,
of course,
to collaborate, and it can really weigh on relationships. And so I think that song was me trying to, hold on to the thing that sometimes gets me to really hard times with people I work with and people I'm very close to, and then there's like falling out and this and that. But at the end of the day, there's that sound. It's there, and it can lift you up. It can bring you there. It can bring you here. And as long as you're still in it, you're still moving, and that's sort of, in a roundabout way, what the song is about.
That's so interesting, because I have this is the only song I actually wrote a lyric down to ask you about. And I think you just pretty much explained it.
Cool.
The lyric was, "And you're gone, always higher, so you're gone, time expires." And I wanted to know if there was a who about that.
Oh, I love that you heard time expires, because I didn't say that.
Oh, what did you say?
That's totally cool. Wait, and you're gone, always higher, so you're gone. Oh, I say climbed the spires.
Wow. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, that's great, because I was sort of in very, very vaguely referencing spires as in a religion, like a church spire or something. And I was imagining, someone literally like King Kong or something climbing up a church spire, using it to get themselves higher, or
Right.
But that, yes, to answer your question, it is sort of about, sometimes it's about one person, sometimes it's about an idea, sometimes it's about society. To me, it depends on where my mind is at. Sometimes it's about nothing, and I'm just allowing myself to express the feeling of something being gone,
You're letting yourself feel that.
Yeah, and I like the idea of music being a way to really ground yourself. And I think sometimes without music, people can get a little untethered. And I think that's why I think music is beautiful. Even people who can't hear can feel music, and it sort of grounds you.
I agree. And where was this recorded?
It was recorded at so I'm glad you asked me that. It was recorded at a place called the Space Recording Studio, and that's in Huntington, New York. And it is my good friend and producer and band member's studio, and he recorded it all analog. And there's a lot of footage on our Facebook page and other places of us just in the process of it. And it's a great studio. It's completely void of the studio vibe. It's just, you go in there and you relax, and everyone's a friend, and we try our best to not be stressed and just create music. And it was great.
I love that. Do you prefer the analog?
I do. I mean, normally it's extremely expensive, but I was very lucky to know the person who was doing it, and he's just, he's not the kind of person who knows that he has something that is like this, okay, I can charge an arm and a leg because it's analog. He works with artists and what they can do, and that's what more producers should do, I think. So
I agree. I've talked to industrial artists and grunge artists and alternative artists, and the fact that they're going back to analog, I really love it, because you don't have the same tempo you do with digital. And it just seems like you can feel it in a different way. So I'm really glad that you mentioned that.
Yeah, it was, and it's nice. Even if you listen really close, you can hear the reel to reel sort of running. And you could
Nice.
hear that, I don't know, and often like at the end of a song, he would want to just cut it right at the end of the song. And I would ask him to, oh, what you hear, go, I wanted to keep all those sounds in.
Right.
I
That's
don't know
interesting.
I don't know the like lingo for it, but I can make the sound.
We'll just call it the click click.
Yeah, the click click.
Nice. So there's so many elements in this song. So what I'm wondering is this song what you heard in your head initially, or did it grow into something more, or did you have to shrink it into something less because you couldn't get the elements that you wanted?
I think this out of all of them in terms of the album recording, it was, I mean, it went beyond what I thought we could do, but it was definitely what I heard. And that for every single one of these songs, I did it kind of backwards. I didn't play millions of shows with these people. I wrote the songs and I had them down myself, but
Okay.
they just came into the studio and they had heard them a few times, and we just sat around and a lot of it's improv on their end, which is what I wanted. I
Right.
wanted it to have that. And some people, I think, really sort of, had their judgments about that. Oh, you got to play a million shows and then you put out a single and then, but I just really wanted to just try at least once to have something that was captured, that it was just that moment. Because, sometimes there's a lot of musicians who they'll put out, oh, we did this one recording on the fly. And that ends up being the most popular thing because people they hear something in it you can't put your finger on.
That's right.
And I wanted to try to capture that. And I think that this song in particular, I just kept, a lot of the musicians are multi-instrumentalists. And so I just kept saying, well, you want to try the flute on this one? Okay, now you want to try the banjo? It was just beautiful. So
Interesting. Because I noticed on your SoundCloud that there's 2 versions of this.
yes,
And
there's
one of them has no flute.
yes, the weight. Well, one of them is just all me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that was my original. That was what I gave to everyone to sort of contemplate and think about, and this is what we're going to do. And then we went in and recorded it together.
Okay. That was interesting because when I first listened to it, I grabbed onto the flute section. And then when I heard it later, that's how I noticed there was no flute, because I was like, wait a minute, there's a big part missing.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I know that I love the flute and everything. And that's Annie Levy. She's so good. She plays the flute, she plays the clarinet, she plays the banjo. She's just great.
But just the flute and banjo on this one, right?
Flute and banjo, yeah. There is clarinet on the album, but that's me. On the really weird song called "Don't Touch the Teddy Ruxpin," but we won't go into that one right now. Oh, one other thing about the weight that's really cool to know is that, as I said, a lot of it was improv. So originally it was recorded just me and the piano, singing, playing piano, and the drummer, who was also the producer and the engineer. So he had never really played it with me before. And I think the actual recording is our second run through. And the middle section, he made up completely on the fly. It turned it into this like sort of jazz funk stop thing. And when we were done playing, we just started cracking up because we were like, okay, that's it. We thought we were practicing it, but that was the take. So yeah.
So you don't necessarily tell people, hey, this is it. You just let them do their thing.
Yeah, we'll just be like, all right, let's try it. And a lot of times, so his name is Alex. He would, whoa.
Sorry about that.
Whoa, what's going on?
That would be a tornado coming through my area.
No way. Are you serious?
Yeah.
Should we pause the interview? Are you?
Oh, heck no.
Do you have to like tape up the windows?
No, we're good.
Okay. But yeah, so I should mention the producer's name. It's Alex Busey. And he would, we would sort of look at each other and then look at everyone else and be like, okay, this is a practice. But then he would like press play sometimes. And
well, you have to, right?
yeah. And I think a lot of people, knew we were being recorded, but at the same time, it was always sort of low key. Like, we don't have to get this. Let's just see what we do. So.
Did you just stumble on these artists? Because sometimes it's really hard to find artists that can do spontaneity like that.
A lot of them have they came from, I did not stumble on them. In a way, I kind of did, but they were sort of the snowball of like years and years of other collaborations.
Okay.
So it's just sort of, I've just been collaborating a lot for a long time. So different musicians and friends sort of come in and out, and then I meet other ones, and then, yeah. That's how I met all of them, yeah. Actually, the other drummer, because the two drummers go in and out, drum and bass. And he joined the band through a Facebook post. So that's how that happened. If he hadn't seen a Facebook...
Is that Harbar?
Marbar, yeah.
Marbar, sorry, Marbar. Sorry,
actually,
Marbar.
It was a friend. That's cool. I'm sure he'll love the new name if he hears this. His friend, who is also a friend of mine, saw me saying, "Hey, I'm looking for a drummer." And because he saw that post, he, tagged Marbar, and then Marbar said, "I'll join." So it was just a really random thing.
Wow. Most people have a hard time finding any drummer, and you have two.
That's right.
So now we know where who's hoarding all the drummers.
No, but I want more. Yeah. I want to have like 4 drummers on stage with me someday. Okay.
Well, I think we've mentioned everybody except for T.
Oh, that's right. Well, I guess it's proper to save. T is like, she's a tornado herself.
Yeah.
She's just got, if you've heard any of the songs, she's got a beautiful voice. She's got a wonderful music career going herself. And I was just really happy that she wanted to join. And I've been singing with her for a while. We've done other shows together where I do her backup singing. So it was kind of like a, we just sort of like give and take. Right now she's doing a lot with her tattooing. So I haven't been working with her, but
wow.
But yeah, she's fantastic. If you should check out her music.
I will do that.
Yeah.
And that's T. Lay, right?
Yes.
Okay. Cool. And then of course there's Decrepit Jaw, who is a mixtape DJ, which I don't understand at all.
Decrepit Jaw. He is amazing. I've been working, I don't know now how long I've been working with him. I worked with him on the project that sort of led to this, which was an even bigger group member. I had 13 people in this band. It was more like a collective called Knife Throwers Assistance.
Yes, I saw that link.
Yeah. And so that project was me and another girl, Eve Blackwater. We wanted to sort of combine our songs and then bring as many musicians as we could together. Basically, we didn't have a limit, and as many genres as we could together. And so Decrepit Jaw was sort of my attempt at, because I always like to push the envelope of experimentation. So I knew that, he would, basically what he does is on his solo stuff is very, very noise and loud and not folky at all. And it's just, I don't even know. It's kind of beyond me, but it really, I love it. I went to a show of his. I actually made a video for him. So in the SoundCloud link, I'll put a little link to him when this moment comes up. But he basically he has this, he has about 4 or 5 cassette decks. And he has all of these different sound samples and tapes from, Little Red Riding Hood being spoken in French to the sound of Saturn that he got from Nassau to a puddle to popcorn to anything, that you can think of. And then he plays them all simultaneously. He slows some down, he speeds them up, he makes some into like percussion, and he's gotten really intricate with what he does. And basically he just adds this element of ambient noise, and he wanted to work with a band as opposed to just doing one long, like his sets are about an hour long, and it's almost nonstop of just weaving in and out of different sounds.
Okay.
So he wanted to work with a group. He wanted to see if he could work with a group as like a challenge, in more of a song setting thing. So that's what he was doing with Nine Feathers. I
gotcha.
Yeah.
So that leads us perfectly into the next song, which is called Not Flamingos.
Perfect. Yeah, that's him. And and this is she was an early member, Jessie Schaefer, who I was in. Schaefer. Yeah, I was in a folk trio a long time ago called Cutlery. That's with an I, not a Y. And and so Jesse Schaefer was the violin player, and I played clarinet, and our banjo player is Kristen Napier, and we worked together for a very long time, and I always really loved her violin playing, so she jumped on that track and played a couple other things as well. So yeah.
Okay, but like in the beginning of Not Flamingos, there's this harsh sort of sound that kind of went through the whole song, and I really wanted to know what that was.
That's Decrepit Jaw.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's Decrepit Jaw and Jesse Schaefer together sort of talking to each other, but the harsh sound that you're thinking of, that's probably what Decrepit Jaw was doing, and I think that's a sample of he said what's the thing that you use to on the street? I can't believe I'm drawing a blank. You know, the you know, like the construction guys, and they have this thing. It looks like a
Oh, the
stick.
jackhammer.
Yes, that.
Yes. Nice.
So I think it's a jackhammer sample.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's perfect. But I mean, it's not really the sound when you think of a flamingo.
Mm. Well, it's not flamingos.
That's perfect. Man, you got me. So what thoughts were you trying to convey with this song then?
I think that song was my way of trying to just be sassy. I get really tired of things being stapled down to one idea or one thought.
Right.
And I also wanted to have a song that was a little bit more, I don't know. I can't think of any other word than sassy.
Sassy. You sassy? I can't imagine that.
It's hard for me to tell you what that song is about, because I remember when I wrote it, I think it had a specific meaning, but it's become so many different things. I never allow any song I never tell myself it always has to mean that certain thing. And sometimes it makes more sense to me later what it's become, if that makes any sense.
Sure.
Yeah.
That totally makes sense to me.
And I think that's what I was really actually even talking about that when I wrote it, because at the end I say, gone the lovely. I say gone a few things, and then I say gone the lovely, but we'll see it again away.
Mm-hmm.
So that's sort of my idea of allowing something to become something else. And it, anyways, I don't know. I'm getting ahead of myself.
So you don't obsess about the lyrics then and make sure they're perfectly in a spot, and it has to mean 12 different things. You just let it go.
Yes. I like my songs to be more like abstract poems, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I'm trying to write a traditional folk song that's about.
Don't you dare.
No, I need to. Don't you dare. Okay, I won't. I won't ever.
Why would you do that? I love what you're doing. Why would you? Well, I suppose it's like a challenge, right?
Yeah, because whenever I find myself, I like to really celebrate the idea of never really saying no or yes to anything in the world of music. So if I start, there's certain things I probably will, certain genres that I'll never attempt because I just don't want to. But yeah. I don't mind, since my roots are from a lot of folk music. I don't mind trying to do something that's more of like a storyline or a,
Okay.
What's the word I'm looking for? Verse, chorus, bridge, blah.
We live in the most interesting places on earth, don't we?
Yes, we do.
You with the sirens, me with the sirens. What's going on?
I was wondering if you just heard that.
Oh,
great.
Sure.
Okay, cool.
It just adds to the ambience, though.
That's great, yeah.
So this was another one that was at Space Recording Studio.
Yes, all of the Nine Feathers songs were all done at the Space Recording Studio.
Why?
And because that's where I wanted it to be produced by someone, and I'd never done a full album with drums before.
Okay.
And I really obsess over recording my own music, but I know what my limitations are, and I don't know how to record a drum set. So that being said, I wanted it to have more of a studio vibe.
It's really interesting.
Yeah.
Because you have your own studio.
I do, but I also, there's something nice about, as much as I am obsessed with recording my own stuff, I don't like having to get out of the mode of playing the song to like press record again or something, or it just, so it was really refreshing to sit down, at the piano, and maybe I make a mistake and I'm not the one getting up to stop the tape, to rewind it, to whatever. I can just sit there, look at the piano, compose myself, and try it again. And that was nice.
I understand that.
Yeah.
So how involved is the group in creating the concept or changing it, or going with, do they go with what you want? Are you the conductor, or do you take advice and you let them just do what they want? We kind of touched on that in the last song.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes I'm the conductor and sometimes I'm not. Sometimes they conduct it.
Okay.
You'll hear in some of the audio, especially, I wanted to see who wanted to do. If people felt like they wanted to take the reins, I was like, all right, you clearly wanted to, okay, that's cool. It made me feel good that they liked my song so much that they felt inspired to like stand up and be like, no, I think it should do this and I think it should go there. And
well, that's why you make it, for people to feel.
Yeah. So
the fact that the people making it are feeling it, that's got to be great.
Yeah. So yeah, it's a little bit of both. It's a lot of, and then of course when we were done recording everything, it was just between me and Alex, the producer, in terms of mixing, which in my opinion is a big bulk of what it sounds like at the end. Because I mean, you can mix it to sound like a completely different album.
Right.
So those details to me are very important. So if you were ever to interview him, he would tell you he could probably make a coffee table book over our notes back and forth, all the details. But he was very happy to do it, and he was very patient and kind and worked with me the whole way through. So it was great.
It has these elements of being produced, but yet it slips into live real easily in some moments.
That's because a lot of it was live.
Right.
So, but I mean, of course, the layers weren't, and those were more thought out. But I wanted it to sound live too. So
right.
I'm glad it felt live to you.
It did. It didn't feel overly produced, but yet you could tell that it was produced. But yet there's moments like when the group starts singing, it just has this awesome sort of feel to it.
Oh, and are you referencing specifically at the end of Dropping Thrones?
Dropping Thrones. Yes, that's exactly what I'm referencing. That's what we call in the business a segue.
Cha-ching! That's the second really good segue. Yeah.
Well, it was, Heidi.
Well, I ask you that question about the group because I felt like you should know that we called that the blob. We called that the village blob.
The village blob.
Yeah, when we were, I think it was the village blob. When we were recording that, we all got in like a circle and we would it was really funny. And we were saying, should we do another layer of blob?
Yeah, because everybody in this song is group vocals.
Yeah, and I even got Decrepit Jaw to sing on that because I said I wanted everybody that was involved in the album. I wanted that to be a moment where at least, because everyone doesn't sing, but that's the one moment where you hear everyone's voice.
You even have Native Naive supporting vocals.
That's right. We haven't spoken about her. She's also fantastic. She does a lot of experimental looping stuff herself with her solo music, and she did some great sort of croony vocals on some of the album, and she did organ too. Her sense of rhythm is completely up my alley. Like her sense of placement, I should say more.
Placement.
Is just it kills me. So I was really happy to have her join us for a couple songs.
I love that because you don't really have a tempo.
Nope. Do not.
No,
but that's another reason. Yeah, but that's why I try to force myself to work with drummers because it is really good. You got to have some sort of a tempo.
I'm sure all the drummers are happy that you felt forced to work with them.
Well, no, it wasn't, oh gosh, sorry.
Overcoming your own obstacles, right?
Yeah, that's right. But I feel like I'm better at being sort of loose with my tempo now that I've worked with drummers.
Okay.
I haven't lost that. When I play solo, it's still very open, and there's I like to pause a lot and find, but I think I do that with more conviction now.
Right.
So, yeah.
And your lyrics tend to float.
Yeah, thanks.
Oh, no problem. I love it. That's why I have a hard time picturing you doing a conventional song. But I can't wait to hear it when you do.
Well, I'm working on it. I don't know. I'll probably end up making it weird. But at least the lyrics I'm trying to be conventional
That's perfect.
Yeah.
See, I always said I would be the type of artist that could do a song that everybody knows and they wouldn't even know what song it was because I would change it so much just naturally.
Ah, yeah. I'm sort of, I think I might be doing that with a cover right now.
Oh, a cover song.
Yeah.
Are we getting an exclusive here from Heidi Harris?
Yeah, this is the inside scoop.
Yes. An exclusive on the Unsigned Countdown.
I know. I have 2 shows coming up in October, and I'm going to try to play this then. And one of the shows is the night before Halloween. So I wanted to do a song that was sort of, on the dark side, I guess, but not whatever. And so I'm a little embarrassed. I always thought Nancy Sinatra wrote this, but I think maybe she didn't. You know the song that I think is called Bang Bang, where it's like, it was in Kill Bill.
Yes, it was.
Yeah, so I love that song, and I was going to have actually my bass player who also plays guitar from Nine Feathers. I was going to have him play the traditional guitar part, and I just wanted to sing it. But then I started playing it on my synthesizer in a completely different key because, and it's really neat. So, and it's much higher. I'm singing it a lot higher.
Okay.
And I'm going to add all this weird atmospheric stuff underneath it. But anyways, yeah. I'm excited about it.
So where are you playing shows at then? Where do you generally, if our fans want to go and see you live, where's their best chance of seeing that?
Well, now that I'm living in Jersey City, I'm going to try to do little shows here and there in Jersey City just because I like the idea of, playing music where I live.
Sure.
But I also, I play a good amount of shows in Brooklyn because I used to live there, and so I know some venues there. I like playing solo shows at Pete's Candy Store. I haven't played there in a little bit, but that's in Brooklyn.
Okay.
And I don't know, I'll always post them on my social media pages when I do. But the show's coming up. There's one, I hope I'm saying the right date, the 15th. It's at Sidewalk Cafe, which is in New York. It's in Manhattan. Okay. And then I'm playing one on the 30th, and that's at Left Field, and that's on Ludlow. So they're both in Manhattan.
And we can find all these dates on your Facebook page?
Yeah, I haven't made an official post yet because they're set up by other people, which is so nice because the last year or two, I was just, since I was leading a band and I was trying to get all these big shows going, I had to organize all the events, and that's just...
It takes you out of your element, doesn't it?
It can be really stressful. I got really good at it, if I'm going to, pat myself in the back.
Go ahead.
but it's very time consuming, and it's a lot of, you have to be very patient. And so anyways, I was invited to do these 2 shows. So I'm waiting sort of for them to make the official announcements before I say anything because it's their deal. I'm just one of the acts.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
When you're playing live, do you change the song at all, or do you try and do it as it was done?
I definitely do that when I'm playing solo.
Yeah.
It's hard to do that with a band. However, definitely in my experience with Heidi and the Nine Feathers, they knew that I might do that once in a while just because since it was all my music that I wrote, It was easier. Whereas when I was in other bands, where, there were other writers, we had to stick to more of, all right, this is how we're rehearsing it and this is how we're playing it.
Right. It's like five people sharing a tightrope.
Exactly. It's a perfect metaphor.
I'm full of them.
That was a good one.
And getting back to Brooklyn for a minute, I have a friend, Dante Nero, who has a podcast called The Beige Phillips Show, and he's actually going to be the next interview that we do. So everybody can look forward to that.
Oh, neat.
Yeah.
And are you interviewing him as a podcast, or or he does music as well?
Nope, he's a podcaster.
Okay. Oh.
But what he does is he offers advice to people, I should say, helping men become better men for their ladies. And what I do is I kind of offer advice to musicians. So I kind of thought it was up our alley.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
I feel honored that that's being discussed in this interview.
It's an exclusive.
Wow. Cool.
Yeah. So let's go with dropping thrones, shall we?
Sure.
Let's just pretend that this is in its conception. It's not even a baby yet. How does it start? How does it grow? What did you start with? What was it with the keyboards? Was it with a beat?
Well, that the Dropping Thrones is my oldest song.
Okay.
I have been writing and rewriting it since I started writing music. Seriously. Like not at the age of 12 or 13 when I started trying to write songs, but when I was about 16 or 17 and really started to write songs.
Wow.
It's that. So basically it started with the piano because you'll hear that sort of long run in the beginning. And I basically just wanted to try to sound really cool. Like,
yeah, you do. You totally do.
Just to be completely honest, I just wanted to play the longest run I could do without stopping. And then I was like, okay, I got that part down. Now let's do a song. So then I actually have a version of it that's like version number 3 when I was in audio school and I was learning how to use beats and make my own beats. So there's a sort of really pop version of Dropping Thrones out there with a beat that I made. There's a
Beautiful.
sort of, there's one when I was really into Tori Amos when she was doing her sort of techno like versions of things where I wanted to make a version like that. But this is the one on Nine Feathers is the more
Folky.
organic, folky one. Yeah.
Okay. I like organic. Let's use that word.
Okay.
Because I know you don't like labeling yourself into one genre.
I don't, but I don't mind. I don't mind saying folky.
Okay.
For some reason, please don't ever say singer-songwriter. I have nothing against people who use that, but for some reason I don't like it.
I don't really think you are, but I don't really think you're folky either.
All right, cool. Well, I like that. That's why I use New Weird America, because it's, it's just sort of, I feel like it's an ongoing genre. It's like changing always. And I like the fact that a lot of people are like, what? What is that? And then that way they don't know. And I don't have to think that they think of me as something. They just think it's something that it's weird.
Right.
And I guess that's lazy of me, but I like that.
It's not a knock on singer-songwriters. I mean, some of my favorites like Sarah Morgan or Monica Darkery, they're great singer-songwriters.
Oh, but totally. I'm glad you mentioned Syra because she's a friend of mine, and that's why I always feel bad when I say that. I've shared a show with her for the SoundCloud showcase in Texas for South by Southwest. And
really?
we got to hang out more, and we shared a show a long time ago, actually, when I first met T. T put together a SoundCloud show in New York years ago now, and it was me and Syra and T. And there was one other, I wish I could remember her name. She's great. She uses loopers. But that was really fun. That was in the band shell in New York City. And yeah, there's nothing, Syra, I hope I always say Syra to her, and now I'm wondering if I'm saying her name correctly. But I think that's how she never corrected me. But But I think that Syra embodies, a real singer-songwriter, and there's nothing
Yes.
wrong with that at all. And I think that there's something simple and sweet about it.
Yes.
And I have nothing against it at all. I just don't like it when people call me that. I think sometimes it's like, well, maybe you heard one song where it's just me and my guitar, but
Right.
you know.
See, she is just her and her guitar and just the delicateness of it. You have a lot more to it. But I wouldn't go as far as folky because it's not really you and a banjo and a harmonica either.
Right. That's true.
So, no, I think you're
Freak
just a
folk.
full-on artist,
Oh, thanks.
So we'll just go with that.
Okay, cool. Well, there's also there's freak folk, I guess.
Freak folk. Folkcore.
Oh, and psych folk. I like psych folk too.
Psych folk. You were
Yeah.
just turning me on to all of this. Okay, so you got the piano going for Dropping Thrones, and then how did it evolve from there?
So for the band, that was another one where I sat down with the producer and he played drums, and that was another one. It was probably like the fourth take.
Okay.
That one took a few more takes because I had to explain to him the beat, since it is such a there's really, the tempo is just sort of
Different.
Yeah, it doesn't really. And the way that I figured out how to explain to him was I said, picture a heartbeat. And that's why it's like, that's why it's, I said, not the typical like rock beat, but think of a literal heart, because a heartbeat is basically sort of steady, but it's an organic heart. So it, has.
It slows and speeds.
Yeah. So that's sort of, and it was really fun because it was my first time where I ever was playing a song, and then I used my hand to speed up and like just so and that was so cool because it actually worked.
Wow, really?
Yeah, and we laughed about that when it was over. We felt pretty pro.
So there's some little advice there.
Yeah.
Okay. And you're happy with how it turned out?
I am. I really I like how the sort of message in that song, it went, since I wrote it such a long time ago, I was kind of, oh, there's a good one. That's a good siren. I was kind of anticipating, what was coming. I wasn't anticipating it like I knew what was going to come, but I was sort of allowing, if I let go of certain things, then if I'm dropping certain things, then where am I going to find myself? And it's exciting, and that's why when it gets to the middle of the song, I have T. Lee do that sort of haunting vocal, and I imagine that she's embodies, like, as a person, one of those experiences, one of those new things that's coming in. So it was very emotional for me because it was like getting to meet, in a way, experiences as people, and they played the sounds for me.
Wow, I like that.
Yeah, that's the best way I can explain what was going on in my brain for that one. But yeah, it worked out pretty well.
Okay. I mean, because you've been doing that song pretty much your whole life then. You've been playing with that song and changing it. That's like, I think every artist has that song that they always go back to and play when they're feeling a certain way.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like a comfort zone for me.
Right.
I just never, I think after about 3 years of continuing to change it, I realized that I wanted to always work on it, and I didn't want to ever consider it to be done.
Right.
So
I always think of songs as like snapshots in time, but I suppose that song would be your selfie.
yeah, my forever selfie.
Yep. You'll always be just taking it and changing it and seeing the changes in it.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah. Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
Should I get the song a selfie stick?
Maybe you should. Or maybe you should just make a song selfie stick.
Yes. No, I can't help but mention this because this is completely not music, but it is performing. There's this artist who is a performer, who is a street performer named Matthew Silver.
Okay.
So look him up. You'll have to type in There's a couple of key phrases that are a little crude, so I won't say them, even though he's totally fine. But one of them is love portal.
Okay.
So type in Matthew Silver love portal, and he's this sort of, I guess you could call him like, I think he once said actually that he considers himself a modern day clown. And he started just by performing in Union Square on the street, like in a Speedo, and just, or like wearing, you know, a tutu on his head and with a reindeer in his hand, and, you know, spouting nonsense and trying to get people to just break out of their shell. And he's recently, you have to look him up. He's hysterical. And he actually opened for a show of mine a while ago, a show that I played with T. She had a set, I had a set, and he opened.
No way.
See, he put ketchup all over the stage, and then we get up there and we like smelled like ketchup, and he had a Dora the Explorer tent that he would get in and get out of, and then put ketchup everywhere. He was awesome. But he has this recent Instagram video of himself just saying selfie, selfie. It's like selfie stick, selfie Red Bull, selfie. He's just saying selfie over and over again. I'm not even going to try to imitate him, but it's really funny. And as soon as he said selfie, I could just hear his voice. So I had to talk about him because it's just, I've been laughing about it. Every time anyone says selfie, now that I've watched that video, I see him.
Isn't it weird where we can get our influences from?
Oh, yeah. Well, it's great, though, because I didn't really know how I felt about the whole selfie, you know, thing. I didn't know, you know, like, I'm sure I've taken a few, but, you know, but the whole, like, really the craze. And now that he's done that, I feel like it's gone so far that it's great now. Whatever. Take a selfie. Put it out there. I'll take one for my song. I'll make my song a selfie stick, you know?
There you go. Okay. So you mentioned that you studied at the Institute of Audio Research. What did you study?
It's just sound production and engineering. And I even learned how to solder. So I learned how to create, like, if I wanted to fix, you know, a soundboard, not that I remember, but I could go in there and solder the wires if they'd come apart. It was really cool. My teacher told me that I was one of the best students. She said that I had a really good attention to detail because it's very small. You have to work with very small things.
Yes,
but
you do.
Yeah. Oh, so you know what I'm talking about. And you do soldering?
I've soldered in the past. I'm not good at it, but I've soldered.
Yeah, it's fun. I got kind of obsessed. I wanted to continue to do it, to make art with it.
Right.
You know, just make like shapes out of it, but I never, you know, I probably found something else that I wanted to do.
You're kind of free that way, aren't you?
Yeah. It's like a curse and a blessing, as people say, because sometimes sometimes I'm onto something and then I'm like, oh, that looks fun. And I should have cultivated whatever I was doing a little bit more, but oh well.
Right. It's kind of artistic ADD.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was gonna say, something like that, but I didn't know. But yeah, that's totally what I have.
You're so sweet. You're like, that might offend somebody.
Yeah, I don't want to offend anyone, but that's completely what it is. So
nice. All right. Well, I won't let you offend anybody else anymore.
Okay, thanks. No, it's cool.
I have some questions from a song called Well of Night.
A Wall of Night.
Wall of Night, which is your solo song, right?
Yeah, I like Well of Night too. Maybe I'll write a second part called Well.
No, we'll just go with Wall of Night.
Okay.
But I was reading some of the comments on your SoundCloud, and I thought some of them were nice. So, did you want to talk about that song?
Sure.
Okay. Let's see. We got a Lulu LOL from Hong Kong. Was just like, so cool. How did you do that?
Well, Lulu, I locked myself in my room for a week straight and just put layer upon layer upon layer and had like my own party is what I did.
Is that what it is?
That's what it is. The drums are, I took drum samples.
Okay.
And I created, a pattern out of all these different drum samples. Because like I said before, I can't record drums myself. I mean, I could do hand percussion and weird drumming stuff, but I couldn't do something that sounds like it is in Wall of Night.
Okay.
So that was when I was still working primarily by myself, but I wanted to have a fuller sound. So I started with the drum samples, and then I decided I wanted to play the kazoo. So I played the kazoo a little bit.
I knew I heard something in there.
Yeah, that's the kazoo. And I used this vocal effects box for the background chorusy. I wanted it to sound sort of old school. That's why
Okay.
they're sort of croony and ghosty. I don't know. I just kept adding layers, and a lot of it was improv, really.
Nice. What mindset were you in while you were doing that?
I think I was. I think I was trying to. Usually, when I write a song, I'm trying to let go of something.
Okay.
So that actually, the sort of emotion behind that song was the beginnings of what I wanted behind the Nine Feathers album. So even though it was written such a long time ago, the sort of the general, like, broad message of that song is the same as, because if you see in the song, I say over and over again, if you won't go, I'll go.
Right.
And it's also important, I think, coupled with the black wall of night shall break up the fight, So it's sort of that. I'm not even going to try to explain, but Nine Feathers album is called Go to Stay.
Right.
So there's sort of a connection between those two, and it's sort of like they're sort of sisters in a way. And one is this completely solo experience where I created this big, cauldron of sound. And then here's this group experience where I worked with people to create a cauldron of sound, but I was personally giving the same emotion in a way, if that. Yeah, so that's why I gave that song to you as well, because it's sort of like that was sort of the beginnings a lot, that song, because it made me realize I wanted to work with people, because I had so much fun, and I could never, you could have a million loopers, but you could never do that in real time.
Like, I was so bored doing it myself. I wanted other people.
Well, I would be bored trying to figure out how to do it live. I wasn't bored in the studio. I love recording. I actually,
Right.
if I could just record all the time, sometimes I think that would be. I like being a mad scientist, and then
And
just.
is this one of those songs that you just had to, once you started it, you had to get it done?
Oh yes, that's why I say I lock myself in my room. Luckily, at the time, I didn't really have much other responsibility other than. My rent was very, very cheap at the time, and I was lucky enough to have a piano in my room, in my bedroom.
Okay.
And so that was more like just my bedroom studio, but it was great. It was really fun. I think that's the most fun I've ever had myself recording a song.
And I think, I'm not sure, I tried to tell, but I think that's your most popular song, isn't it?
It is, and that makes me really happy, because I think it's the song that I feel the most connected to and the most behind, as still, even though it's so old now for me.
Sure.
But I'm just really happy that people felt, connected to it the way I did. Because sometimes you can feel so happy about something and work on it for so long, and no one, and everyone's like, "That's great," and then they walk away, and it's okay, back to the drawing board.
Nobody listens. Nobody press like. They just.
But that's yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
no likes. But that's the way art goes, and it's you got to be able to go with that. But I'm really happy that people liked that, because I like it too.
Well, that leads me into a question that I had no idea was going to be right here. Do you care if people listen?
I'd like to be the cool musician and say, I don't care. But of course, if no one's listening, then I don't have as much motivation to do it. Sometimes I'll do music, like for the past 4 months, I've been only playing for myself, or if I record any bit at all, if I have time, I've not really thought about getting it out there or anything, but that will pass, and eventually the performer in me will want to share it, and when I share it, I'll definitely hope that people want to hear it.
Right.
And I don't want people to listen so that I get more followers or maybe more album sales, but I want people to listen to it because I want to know that I've connected with people, and I want to feel like it was, even not just, to use a generic term like connected, but I want to give something that I feel is the best thing I can do. And I want to know that like, that it's wanted, I guess.
Right.
I want to know that
you want them to feel what you wanted them to feel.
Well, I don't want anyone to feel anything specific. That's the other thing. That's another,
Really?
actually, I'm glad you said that, because that's another reason why I want people to listen, because I can't wait to find out what it means to other people.
Really?
Oh yeah. I that's why I was happy when you said other things. Like when you said, instead of climb the spires, you said time expires. And that's great. Like that's what you heard. And you probably thought something completely different, and it became this whole new thing. And that's awesome, I think. Time expires. So sure. All right.
Okay. Well, I appreciate that. I thought I had insulted you for a minute, but you don't really put your lyrics down, except for, well, we'll get into that later. So,
well, now I'm curious.
So Hugh Doolin, he says it's like a chamber version of Horse Latitudes, which is very cool to him. What does he mean by that?
Darned if I know.
Okay, great. Great. I thought he was like saying something. It had an inside scoop there.
Well, maybe that's music I should check out. That must be a band that he likes. Or...
Okay. So do you follow the stats on your SoundCloud at all?
Sometimes.
Yeah. Do you know like where most of your listeners come from? What countries and stuff like that?
I look at that sometimes just because I think it's interesting.
Yeah.
But I don't think I have a general, which is cool. It sort of changes in and out. It depends on what kind of music I'm making at the time too.
Okay.
I think. But like when I make my more ambient and experimental and sort of atmospheric stuff, which I really like doing, then my audience shifts.
I got you there.
Yeah. Just shifts, just like the conversation did.
It always does. I'm sorry, I was reading my next question and I had no idea what it meant as I was reading.
Oh, cool. Tell me. I want to know now.
This
is fun. I haven't looked at those comments in a while. I like hearing these.
Oh, let's see. This isn't really a comment. It's just a question I had. And it was, to what, if any, one thing more than another could you maybe attribute to your success? Yes, attribute. Is there one thing that you could attribute your success to?
Well,
it doesn't make sense to you either, does it?
No, that's well.
Well, you have about 11,000 listens on this song.
Right.
And I know a lot of our listeners are in bands or trying to get listens. So for somebody to get 11,000 listens, can you attribute that to anything? Do you network? Do you?
You know what? I'll tell you what. I know some of the key points for that. I do know.
Ooh, cool.
So there was a show. I think it was some sort of a very well-known either podcast or something. No, it wasn't a podcast. I don't know. There was some sort of show a long time ago that was on an ongoing loop that you could listen to, not just lives like what you do. And it, for some reason, I noticed, because you can see where things are played, it got played a lot through that. And when the guy mentioned it, it's funny that it got a lot of plays through that, because this is what it was. I was trying to remember all the details. People voted on which songs should go on this. It was like an end of the year best songs of 2000, whatever. And people voted Wall of Night as like number 3. And the DJ guy didn't like it. And he said he didn't. I was so excited because I got a notification that I was going to be in this thing and and I go to listen to it, and I was like, and I think it was during the holiday season. I'm sitting there in the kitchen, my mom, and I think they're going to play mine next. And this guy is like, no, I don't know why you guys voted for this song. I got, well, you know, it was like weird to hear that with my mom there. She was like,
Right.
"It's okay, honey," you know. It was so embarrassing. But after that, a lot of, maybe because he didn't like it, people listened more. You know,
Right.
what is he talking about? So maybe I should thank him for not liking it.
Sure.
But there was that, and I think I had become a SoundCloud ambassador
Nice.
a little bit ago. And when I became a SoundCloud ambassador, I was put on a lot of suggested user pages and things like that.
Gotcha.
And during the height of that, I had Wall of Night towards the top of my page. And I think it was just a matter of, that was the first song people heard.
Beautiful.
And I was just lucky that it was a song that, you know, minus the DJ guy.
Minus the DJ.
That people liked. So, yeah.
Okay. That's perfect then. So we were talking about the lyrics, and you do have the lyrics for Nine Feathers featuring, wait, what's the name? Ela?
Oh, Edda.
Edda, thank you.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, Edda is a special case there.
She's French.
Yeah, and I have been working with her. She's more a visual artist.
Okay.
But the words that she's speaking, she did this busking project, and she had been writing this long sort of spoken word poem that she ended up doing, and she walked around for almost 2 months just saying this poem on the street out loud to anyone who would hear it.
Really?
And there's some beautiful footage, and there's some footage with that track actually behind it, and with her swimming in the water, and like the camera person got into the water. It's beautiful footage. Yeah. And you can find her work on and the flying dot fish. So if you just type that into your URL, you can find her. And there's a lot of links to her, and I have been working together for years. And we just finally decided that's another thing that led into Nine Feathers, because I created the track without her speaking months before she spoke anything onto it. And
that's interesting, because one of my questions was, how do you make a track to match the length of the lyrics?
Well, I didn't. So she sent me, I said, just record yourself talking saying your poem. You can say it over and over again. You can repeat things, do whatever you want. And I don't understand. Just by the way, part of the reason why I put the lyrics there is because I don't know what she's saying.
Okay.
I wanted to use her words. I mean, I know now because she gave me what it meant.
Right.
But I wanted to interpret it as sound, as emotion and sound. And she was down with that idea. I told her, I said, I'm not going to understand what it means, so I'm not going to I'm going to process it and sample it and make it slow and backwards and chop a word here and a word there. And I said, and she said she was skeptical at first because she knew, that'd be like me, saying A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and you want that in a song, and it's like F, B, it's all out of order, and it's not, but so she was skeptical, but she said that it ended up being so, as in terms of someone who knows what she's saying, she said it blew her mind how well it worked. And I think it might have been just because I was just hearing her emotion, and I linked it up that way, and it worked. Right. Anyways, that's how that worked. She wrote an entire thing about our collaboration with that on her website that you can read about. Yeah. And she did the album artwork too for the Nine Feathers album.
And these links are all in the description portion of your songs.
Yes.
Which is at soundcloud.com/Heidi-Harris.
That's right. I think there's a 1 in there too.
Oh, maybe.
Yeah. I don't know why.
All of Heidi's links are in the description portion of the stream, and they'll be in the podcast as well.
Okay. They're all there.
Except Twitter. I just found you on Twitter today. Isn't that interesting?
Oh yeah, I saw that notification, and I retweeted you.
Woo! I got retweeted by Heidi Harris. Let's see. So yeah, this isn't your usual sound, compared to your other songs. So why make it?
For the Nine Feathers with the spoken word.
Yeah, this Nine Feathers. Why this is a departure from your usual music, I would say.
Well, kind of yes, and actually kind of no. It's that's my therapy music. I really like creating atmospheres and
Okay.
soundscapes, and it's funny because it's like I have two different fan bases, and one of them is very strong, and they really, really basically only listen to what I do when it's like that.
Interesting. I love it, by the way.
So thank you. Thank you. Yeah. And I actually also want to, once I pick Nine Feathers up again, which I'm not sure when that will be, it'll probably be in a year or two, when I figure out my next sort of formation and gather more people and songs and all that. But I really want to include someone who does spoken word, because I think that would be, and not in the traditional sense, like it might even be sampled in real time.
Sure.
So it's more like that, where it's, not like a, anyways, but I want to work with someone who isn't trying to sing, who's,
Poetry.
poetry. And yeah. So that's why and that actually that track was also the sort of rumblings of the group Heidi and the Nine Feathers, because I had created it originally to collaborate with this other singer on SoundCloud named Kine Hedge. I cannot say her last name. Hedgelness. I can't say it. But it didn't work out. And so I just sat on that. I created this sort of weird drum atmospheric thing with vocals. And I sat on it for a few months. And then I started talking to Edo one day, and she told me about this poem. And I don't know the rest. We just did it. And the whole idea behind it was that I wanted to start collaborating with people more. And in the song, I'm saying sort of in gibberish, except nine feathers, over and over again. Nice. So that's why I called the project Nine Feathers, because I started to really embrace, where my brain was going when I listened to that track. So, okay. Yeah.
It's almost, since I couldn't understand what she was saying, it was almost like she was another instrument.
Exactly. Cool. I'm glad that that's how you felt, because that's what I wanted it to be like, at least for people who don't speak that language. Right. I like the idea that it's a different experience too, for people who understand it, people who don't, So yeah.
Yeah. We featured bands in Portugal and Sweden and Mexico, and I always wonder why they don't sing in their native language. And they say it's because most of their listens come from the United States. And I always tell them that I love that about it. There's something natural about the languages that they have. So I wish they would do that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, some artists, I mean, there's, one of my biggest inspirations, Bjork. I love how sometimes she'll sing in English and sometimes she won't. She'll sing in Icelandic.
Yes.
And it's just great. And I love hearing the way she sings in English. No one could ever write lyrics the way that you do when it's not your first language. You know? There's something beautiful about the word flow that you choose when it's not your first language that you could never do if you were trying to, I think. I don't know.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. Okay. Well, that's beautiful. So let's see. Heidi, pie or cake?
Whoa. Cake.
Beautiful. I didn't see that one coming. You just blew my mind.
Awesome.
So what direction do you see? What are you hoping for in the future? Where do you hope to go? Where are you aimed at?
I'm aimed at recording a solo album. So I'm going to force myself to play shows as much as I can, but I'm also going to sort of play the mad scientist for the next year and do an album. And then hopefully, a year or two from now, I'm releasing it and people like it. And then hopefully those songs are becoming group songs, and I sort of have an up and down, sort of routine now that I've developed, where I do solo stuff and then I find a group again and then I do solo stuff, and it all sort of lends itself to each other.
Okay.
I don't know where, I see myself in terms of like what venues I'll be playing or how many people will be listening to me. But I just hope that I keep, sometimes it's hard, even though I love music, I just hope I keep playing. That's all.
Me too.
Thanks.
So what one element of the musical creation process brings you the most joy?
Recording it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love performing, but I really love recording music.
Okay.
I think, I don't know. That's hard to say. What element? Well, do you mean like very specifically, like what
It's
instrument?
just some people like recording in the studio, some like performing live. Some people enjoy just having that guitar in themselves. Some
Mm.
people just want to sit by their piano and come up with something new.
Yeah,
Just wondering which part of that.
I really can't pick a favorite because it just depends on where I am in my process.
It,
Since I have this sort of
yeah, it's kind of creating for you.
yeah, it's I've really developed a sort of, which thankfully I figured it out, because for a while I thought I really did have music ADD. But now I realize that I have this sort of process that I go through where I just, I know when something is finishing, and I know what stage I'm probably going to need to go to next, as opposed to being like, wait, this isn't working anymore. Now what do I do?
Right.
So sometimes when I'm in a specific stage, then that moment of just sitting alone in a room with a piano, that's my favorite.
Okay.
But, it just depends on where I am, I think, in my process.
Yeah. I think sometimes the issue is that an emotion changes because of a note you heard at a specific moment, and then the whole song needs to change to fit that emotion.
Well, that actually happened in Dropping Thrones. There's a part in the recording where I went to go change to a part that's more sort of major,
Mm-hmm.
and I hit the chord that's more minor that I had been trying to ascend out of, and it made the song all the much better, because I sort of like sigh sing in a way that sounds, where I'm literally just expressing how I felt about like feeling like I had failed.
Okay.
And then I came out of that, and I don't know if I'm touching on what you were saying. I think I am, but it changed everything, and it was yeah.
That's
Anyways,
interesting. You
every
made
time I
mistakes.
hear that, thankfully it wasn't a wrong note or anything, and I knew that it would work, but I hear myself being disappointed in myself, but then, but I love it now. I love that part now. So, yeah.
Right. I think that's what's amazing is like you can hear all of the little off parts in your songs, but other people can't, and they can just enjoy the song for what it is.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's really important to remember
Yeah.
for every musician, I think.
Yeah, there is no real wrong note when you're creating your own song.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
As long as it's not like,
yeah,
but
of
yeah.
course.
Yep. I always have to, because, I always wonder, the musicians that I really look up to, when I listen to their music, what they pick apart when they hear it.
I agree. Who are some of the artists you listen to?
Right now, and for the past probably 2 years, I've been heavily listening to the artist Soleil.
Okay.
She is, I believe, I can't believe I'm drawing a blank right now, but also Iceland. But maybe I'm wrong. No. Oh gosh, I'm embarrassed. I love her though. I listen
Okay.
to her. I just bought her vinyl. It's called Ask the Deep, the new one, and it's
Beautiful.
just amazing. You got to listen to her if you like sort of experimental, kind of poppy, slight sliver of like folk in a way, but nothing really at all. Then you should listen to her. I also really like, let's see. Well, my old influences were, Bjork was a huge influence of mine. I feel like Pierre Bastian is this amazing sort of atmospheric musician. And he does a lot of looping and stuff. And he creates some of his own instruments. So
Okay.
he's really cool too. And just when I need to just hear music as solid music, I like to listen to composers like Eric Satie music. I really like.
Beautiful.
Yeah. So.
Okay. I love that. That just kind of helps people get into the mind, you know.
The mind of music, or my mind?
Yeah, I mean, because they want to hear your music, they want to hear how you were influenced, so
Oh
they
yeah.
can just, they can just put on some music and.
Yeah, just put on some Eric Satie, and that's how you know what I feel like when I go to my happy place.
Nice. It's beautiful. And then I ask this question in every interview, so I don't know how you'll take it. If somebody came up to you and said, "Hey, we'd like to sign you to this great record deal, but you have to change everything about yourself," would you be willing to do that to make the money, or would you rather just stay independent and poor?
Would I have to change everything about myself and even my artist name? Because I would have a lot of fun creating some alternate character and getting money for it.
Yeah, everything.
Well, that's great. Then sure, I'd do it. And I'd create some weird alternate character and give them what they wanted. And then they would give me money for it. And then I would have more money to make what I really wanted.
That's beautiful. I always think of Katy Perry because she was such a good, street performer. And then they just picked her up and changed who she was totally,
But she had to keep her name. So she had to
Right.
become that person all around, right?
Basically.
Yeah. So I wouldn't want to do that.
No, but you don't have to. You could change your name. You could be whoever you want.
Cool. I think that would be a lot of fun, actually.
Yeah?
I was in a show a long time ago with my folk trio band called Alter Ego, where we had to go and sort of perform in our alter egos, and we all wore wigs and shiny dresses and sunglasses.
And was this in the 80s?
No, but we made it look like it. We sure made it look like it. Because we were very folky. We usually looked like we were from the 20s and sort of very banjo and violin and clarinet, So we dressed up, like we were from the 80s.
Beautiful. Is there video of this?
There's definitely photos. I don't know. Oh, there is a video. There is a video, now that I remember.
Beautiful. Well, we can just let our fans search away for that.
Yeah, that's in the vaults. You have to dig for that one.
Beautiful. Okay. Well, thank you for joining me. Where do you want our fans to support you?
Well, you could definitely go to Bandcamp or SoundCloud. I mean, there's a lot of music to listen to on both of those. And if anyone's interested in supporting in terms of buying an album, that would be awesome. But if not, you can definitely just listen to it there. And there's some free downloads scattered around there as well. And in terms of shows and things like that, I usually always post shows through Facebook and Twitter. And I'm starting to get into Instagram, but I have a hard time I just like taking pictures of things. So,
sure.
It's not completely connected to my music yet. But
no, that's Suki Sound Studio, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Suki Sound Studio. That's what I call my Instagram is Suki Sound.
Yep, I know because I follow it.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
And I follow it on Facebook too because when I do the research, I just click on everything. You know what I mean?
Cool. Yeah. And I have many options. So whatever your favorite, let me say this, whatever your favorite platform is, you could probably find me there.
Probably.
So unless it's Google Hangouts, I'm here. But as you know, I had a really hard time figuring it out. But now I know. So thank you.
But now you know. And what I always tell artists is that now you have a new platform. So you can actually record yourself like little documentaries. And just because as soon as I hit end, this is going to upload to YouTube.
Whoa.
You know what I mean?
It's instant, like right away.
Pretty much. It'll take maybe 5 or 10 minutes to upload completely.
Okay.
But it'll be there.
I like that.
Yeah. So you could, it's just a new way for your fans to get to know you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
And then for all the listeners that will be listening in the future to the podcast episode, you can click on the buy now link, and that's where we're going to have her Bandcamp link so that you can go buy the album and support them. Definitely follow Heidi on Facebook because there's so many posts and so many updates that it's fun. Yeah.
That's right. I like
Yeah.
to post things.
We like that you like to post things.
Nice. Thank you.
Yeah.
It's very encouraging. All
And
right.
then we always have the Facebook event, so if people want to go to our page and connect and find more about you, then they can go to our page on Signed Countdown Podcast and just go to our events section, and that's where all of our events are for all of our interviews. So.
And I listened to some of the interviews. I meant to write down some of the names because I had a really fun time listening to your other interviews.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, there was one. It was a band, and they were definitely not from America, like sort of garage bandy. They were really funny, really funny. I thought to myself, I really have to get some jokes ready to compete with these dudes because they were really funny.
That band was Red Soaking Wet, and
yes,
they posted an Instagram picture of them with their pants off, and apparently it went viral on Twitter. So I got a whole bunch of listens just because of that.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Those rascals.
Those rascals. Well, thanks for joining me.
No problem. It was a lot of fun. It was the best part of my day. I had a weird day, and this really was a lot of fun. So.
Yay.
Yeah.
And then, of course, I'll let you know when everything is set.
Okay.
You
awesome.
will be tagged.
Nice. Thanks.
Thanks, Heidi.
No problem. Take care.
Bye-bye.